Hey everybody, this is the TQ Strong Shield mechanical 3-level slider, and as you can see off to the right there, it is available in a few different variations, but this is what I have. This is what we'll be talking about. This one's titanium. It has these fancy metal inserts which happen to be clicky as well, and there are some pros and cons to this. The fact that it is titanium is the main reason, but please stick around. We'll take it apart, we'll do the usual, compare it to everything, weigh it, measure it, test it out. I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll take it from there. So first off, let me bring this picture back up here. I did not see the small version available, but they did have the PEI magnetic version and the PEI mechanical version. Now they only say they only have like one of each left, but I thought you might want to know that. And also the name of the store was Tiger H EDC, I believe, and I'll put that up here. I'll put a link in the description. I don't know how long they're going to have them. Like I said, they might only have one left in stock of each thing. So this was the most expensive, probably because of this insert. That's one of the things I'm hoping somebody can tell me, is whether this is Mokutai or Zirkutai, or maybe I'm being conned completely. When we take it apart, you'll get a better view of the inside, and it's more of an unfinished finish on the inside surface. But yeah, I'm curious to know what that actually is. I really like it. It's very pretty, but that's not my style. I would never buy something just because it has this fancy, expensive metal in it. And in fact, I'm kind of happy that it's just this little detail and not too gaudy, you know. But yeah. Whoop. Interesting piece. One direction can give you a dense click, about 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in the other direction, well, that would be like this. If you flip it over, you'll get dense or you'll get standard. Now this is dense. It's a little mushy. It's not real defined, but I have to keep it that way because right now it has, what is it, 2 springs, and on each spring are 2 balls. One goes up and one goes down, and those balls are either nylon, POM, or Teflon. They're white plasticky balls, so they're not white ceramic balls. When it came with stainless steel, and it was just so aggressively rough and scratchy, and it was really contributing to the stickiness of it, because this is titanium, at least. I'm not sure what all is titanium. This outer shell is for sure, and it does make contact with this middle plate here, and the tolerances are very, very tight, and regardless, it does want to bind up on you if you use springs with stainless steel balls, because it's just a little bit too much. I think maybe if you gave it some time to wear in, it would probably be better. It's probably all personal preference. If you like to have things rough, or if you just prefer it to be nice and smooth, I like that. At least I've settled for that. There's a few things, like I said, there's a few cons and pros about this thing. So far, though, I can say I like it. I like the shape. I like the feel. I like the fact that you can have the option of doing the 8 clicks, or, well, I want to say it's 16, but it's not. We'll count it out here in a minute. It's a weird setup, and it's similar to something else we're all pretty familiar with. At least that'll be my complaint. the middle parts are clicky. There's a tiny little clicker dome on either side. Same on both sides. We'll take it apart. You'll see them. Very tiny, but they're in a little countersunk area that holds them right in place, and then this fancy metal piece rests right on top of it. And like I said, the tolerances are really, really tight on this. One of my solutions when I thought it was getting kind of tight on me was I thought, like, well, I'll put some Teflon tape on the inside here where you would barely even see it, or maybe not even see it at all. It would have been somewhere in this region, right in here. And the Teflon tape I have is pretty thick stuff, I guess, but either way, it was too thick. I could not get these to close. That's how tight these tolerances are between these pieces. You see, it looks like there's a lot of wiggle there, but there's really not. And when it comes to this direction, there's virtually none. And there's no room in between here for the tape. Now, you could maybe get a thinner tape, and I don't know who is selling it, but I know there's at least one person out there selling maybe 3 different thicknesses of tape, Teflon tape, and you could probably get away with putting some in here if it would fit, if there's room for it. Otherwise, like I said, it did come with nylon or POM or Teflon, whatever, they're white plastic balls, and those work perfectly fine for me. I'm happy with that, exactly the way it is. And if you squeeze this on both sides, you get a nice multiple crunchy kind of click sound feel. It's really nice. I like that. It is very pretty. I do like that. It's mostly bluish in color, but I see little hints of kind of orange, maybe. Orange, purple, blue, maybe some silver. Let me just try to get it in close for you at once for the experts. I don't know how good this lighting's going to be for you. And like I said, when we take it apart, I'll show you the inside view of this. Might look a little bit more telltale. But yeah, let's take it from there. So I know I have a problem. My problem is that I really like 3-level sliders, and I knew titanium would be kind of a risk, and there were not too many of these available, and they're only available through one seller, and I thought it's kind of risky, but I'm glad I took the risk. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's just compare to a few things I have that are at least similar. Let's talk about the very first thing that did bother me about this a little bit, and that is, do you notice what's happening here when there's like it doesn't want to stay out the whole way. There's like a half click out there. It almost made me difficult for me to figure out where to start counting the clicks, because I wouldn't start clear out here at the end where I have to sort of force it held open. I'd start where it falls back a little bit, and then I only get 4 there, and then 4 there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And if you flip it over, actually, sorry, if you roll it over, I should say, maybe you'll get the dense pattern, and that's really hard to count out. It's not going to be, it's really sort of mushy. Now it was more defined when I had the steel balls in it, but something about the steel balls and the titanium and the pressure just made this really sticky. In fact, there were times that I just could not, it just seemed like it would get out like this far and lock up. And the harder you pushed on it, the less it wanted to agree with you. And then it would finally snap open. So all that went away when I went to the nylon balls, and just made everything a lot smoother. So yeah, and what I was going to say, I guess before I got completely off track there, was the fact that it's doing this reminds me very much, not of this one, but this one. So one of my first mechanical sliders, I guess, before mechanical was even a thing, would be the Metal Toys DZ Top B slider, and this just has the, I guess it would be the standard plate, the Z plate they call it. So this one just frustrated me from the very beginning, I think, because you get one and then sort of half a click. So it's hardly even a 2-click slider. It's more of a 1.5 click slider, and it wants to pop back from that half click. So going back and forth makes you get the impression that you get a lot more clicks, you know, and maybe more travel. And then this has its place. I mean, I don't hate it. I've learned to like it over time. The reason I bought two, to go back again, was I'd bought, there's a brass insert you could buy to make two of these into a 3-level sandwich, like this. And it was just a disaster. I gave the middle piece away. I haven't heard from the fellow I gave that to either. I'm curious if it worked for him or not. But this is the ZZ plate. Now it doesn't really have that hang-up problem. But this one, which was what it comes with, what most people would have gotten it with, is just that 1.5 click, and that's always bugged me a little bit. And that's definitely, when I'm using the standard side or the fewer click side, where you get about 8 clicks, that's where I notice that. Now if I flip it over and I go to the what is it? We think it's 16 clicks, twice as many clicks. It might be there a little bit, but not nearly as noticeable at all. And I tend to use more the dense pattern. This side I'd call the dense pattern, and I'd use that more often than anything. And it's been running really smooth ever since I put the nylon balls in. The stainless steel balls, like I said, were just locking up, and probably wasn't very healthy. I do like that. So let's do some comparisons next. We did already talk about this. I guess I could at least hold it up beside each other here and let you see the size differences. So with that, don't forget to open them up here and give a little bit of size comparison when they're open and closed. Now, this is more of a comparison of things that are mechanical and not necessarily sized and shaped the same way, but you know, this is one of the first mechanical sliders before we were really talking about mechanicals or even thinking about mechanicals. But one side's mechanical, one side is magnetic. It's the Mackie CP2. So I've always preferred the mechanical side, this part. In fact, I wish the whole thing would have been available in mechanical, but the last part of it is magnetic, and it just sort of slaps shut. So that is huge compared to this. There you go. And if you have one of these, at least you'll be able to get an idea for size comparisons. And what came after that, historically, was the CP5, another Mackie product. This is before Mackie became 01, two different entities. This I love to death. I didn't realize how much I liked it until much longer after I've had it. When the realization that mechanical was more my kind of thing is when I came back to this and really started to carry it around more. So here you go with that. They're similar in size, aren't they? Then another 3-level. These are all 3 levels, by the way, except of course the top B's. Here is the 01 EDC mechanical in the dense pattern. And this is, I would say, people have asked me recently, what is your best favorite mechanical slider? And I think this one rises above everything else over time, over a considerable amount of time now. Not that I carry it everywhere, not that it's my #1 user or anything like that, but it's like clockwork. It is like such precision and satisfaction through that. Really good piece. But I've been talked out of getting the pivot version of this. So yeah, I've watched, I think it was Fidget Focused. Kyle, I think, did a little talk about that, and I think that was him. I hope I got that right. Somebody did. They did a good job anyhow, talking me out of it. Another one I have. You know what we didn't do? Let's just get that back out here. Get everything lined up here. And the last piece I'll compare it to will be this PEI piano slider. And this is by, what company is that called? DOM-EDC. So this has been a real favorite of mine too, as far as all the synthetics go. Nice 3-level. Okay. Now we can measure it. It is 42 millimeters tall, 25 wide. At its thickest point in the middle, where the buttons are, I'm getting 13 millimeters. When we have it fully extended, I am getting 67. Pardon me, disorganized. Let's get the scales out. Okay, there are no magnets in this. 47, 48 grams. See, a little mushy. A little mushy, not as well defined as I'd like it to be. But I am happy with it. So, next thing we'll do is take it apart. Please stick around. Before we take it apart, let's just quickly go over what it came in. It's fairly impressive packaging. Haven't seen a box quite like that before. It's not really stackable. Does not have a watertight seal on it or anything. TQEDC. There's nothing under the top. Now this piece is pluckable if that's your thing. You could always use this down the road for something else. That's pretty neat, I think. And then the part underneath here, I was lucky not to lose anything when I first opened this up. What few spare parts they give you are just dumped underneath here, and both, there were two springs. The springs were stuck on the foam, and then the Boxster balls were down here on the inside. So it came with stainless steel balls, and it came with some nylon balls. We'll just say they're nylon balls for now. White plastic balls. And then, by chance, they gave me an extra one of those little clicky domes. See how small that is? I'll show you that better once we get on the inside. But there is your fancy packaging. Actually, it is very, very nice. TQEDC. I did scan this in, so I will pop that on your screen right here, right now, for a couple seconds, so you can read it. It is a little silly, but that is a machine translation from Google, so that's what that says, and that's what it came in. That's what it came with. Unfortunately, it did not come with any extra screws. That would have been a big plus, because that's the only thing on here that you would have a lot of trouble replacing. The springs and balls, no big deal. You wouldn't want to lose the little clicker dome things, but I'm sure you could replace those if you had to, and the screws if you had to, but it would be a pain in the butt, you know, finding just the right size. So, okay, next thing we do is take this apart. So I'm going to use, I think a Phillips 1 bit seemed to work best, fit the best for me. You can pick either side, doesn't matter. I am going to keep some pressure, squeeze these two sides together, because once the screws are out, they're out. Actually, nothing's going to happen in this particular case. So we got our screws out, and it's all this is going to do is allow me to take off the top plate, but I'll still do that carefully. I'm just going to lift it straight off, you see. We can put that there. Now here, where are my tweezers? Is the either Mokume or Zircuti piece, and we'll take a closer look at that then. But that piece goes in there, and then here is a little clicker dome, and there's a little clicker dome. So just so I don't lose those, I'm just going to dump them right out right there. Now we're in a little bit of a vulnerable space. If I slide this way too far or this way too far, that's when springs and balls start shooting out everywhere. So I'm going to keep my thumb sort of in this location and pressing down as I attempt to slide this metal plate out. My thumb's going to keep the springs and everything in place. So I'm going to let that glide underneath me like that. So I've successfully removed the plate. I can gently lift my thumb. Oh, there goes one ball. I found it. I got it. But here we'll dump everything out. You see there's 2 springs and 4 balls. And they get placed in any one of these 4 cavities right here. And the top piece and the bottom piece attach exactly the same. That's why I said it doesn't matter which side you take off. So we don't need to totally disassemble this thing. This side is exactly the same as the other side. But here is one of the tight tolerances I was talking about. If I can get it up here for the camera. Do you see how small? There's a little groove here and a little groove here. And these 2 pieces right here are both sort of the dovetail parts. And the dovetail part has to slide, these have to slide together. See right there, they're coming together. And there's virtually no room between them. So that's how everything comes apart. If you want to change out your springs and balls, all you have to do is then drop, like we're going to reload this the same way that it was. We'll drop, what I do, now this is how it came to me. It came to me with the stainless steel balls in place. But like I'm about to show you, they were only installed here and sort of diagonally over here. These 2 other spaces were left empty. Now I've tried it with all 4 spaces filled with springs and balls, and I tried nylon, I tried stainless steel, and it gets to be way too much pressure pushing this thing, trying to push this thing apart, and it just makes the whole titanium issue a much bigger issue. If that is what in fact is the problem. But anyhow, it increases the friction between these dovetail parts and the part the dovetail slides into, which I imagine is stainless steel, not titanium. And this middle piece, I believe, is aluminum, but I have no way of knowing that. Either way, it's very tight, it wants to bind up. So I think filling all 4 of these is a mistake. I think what you want to do is put 1 in each diagonally. A spring and 2 balls here, a spring and 2 balls here. And it doesn't matter which way you decide to do that. Pick one and stick with it. Just place the spring on top of the ball that you just dropped down in there. Now, before we move on, in order to make this operate properly, take notice that This is the standard spaced side, and this is the dense pattern side. So standard, dense. Down here you can see the standard side. The dense pattern is hidden over here. What we want to do before we put this back on is make sure that it's in this orientation. Now that it won't seem like it makes a lot of sense, but I want the dense pattern here to be countered by the standard pattern over here. Don't line them up so that they match like this and put it back together. Line it up so they're like this, kind of opposite. Then flip it over and put it back together. Otherwise, it turns into, because if you set it up properly, it works the way that I showed you, and when you slide it in one direction, you get the standard clicks. You flip it over, roll it over in your hand, and you slide it, and you get the opposite. But these have to be lined up in the way that I'm showing you right here. So again, dense pattern you see here, standard pattern you see here. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to use my finger to push down on these two springs and balls, and then slide the plate over top of them as carefully as possible. There. And I'm going to give that just a little wiggle to make sure I got it. I did get it. Now it's just a matter of putting everything back together again. So there's one of the clicker domes. And there's the other one. You'll make sure it's pointing the right direction. It needs to be, the dome needs to be arched this way. So here again, let me try to get it up here close for you. So this side looks a little more yellowish. Hope you can see that. The front looks a lot prettier. Isn't that different? So yeah, if anybody knows, let me know what that is. I assume it's either Zircutai or Mokutai. I'd like to know. Then that just gets gently placed on top of these little clicker buttons. That all rests in its own little cavity there, and then you just line up the button with the hole here. Put everything together, squeeze it together, slide it apart enough so that you can have access to where the screws go. Real easy to work with. It's a shame it gets sticky like that, you know, but if you switch over to the nylon balls, it won't be an issue. And like I said, this was available in two other options, the magnetic that I'm not too interested in, and then the PEI. And the PEI, matter of fact, I don't know how much I talked about those, but let me bring that picture back up again here. Those are the three things that were shown. The smallest version of this you can't find. And the only other options they had one that was the PEI magnetic, and of course they have this titanium one, which is mechanical, and they also had a PEI one, which was mechanical. So here's a picture of the PEI mechanical, and one of the reasons it was a lot less expensive than this, I assume because it doesn't have this fancy metal piece. And that would be a downer for me. I wouldn't want that. But it was significantly less expensive than the titanium version. And then there's this magnetic version, which I'm just not interested in. And it was about the same price as the PEI mechanical, significantly less than the titanium. So I think that's all I have to say. Titanium, I knew it was a bit of a risk. I'm glad I took it. I'm convinced, I have convinced myself that I'm satisfied with this. And I am kind of, I don't know what the right word is, I'm tickled with my fancy little metal clicky buttons. See, I'm always like, go further, go further. It won't go further. But then when you go into the smooth mode or the dense mode, it's just very calm, quiet. That's pretty pleasant. I like that a lot. You can even hear a little ping from time to time, but getting real distinct clicks out of this is just not at least not the way I have it set up. The balls are approximately 3mm size, so you could try anything you like in there. I think if you try stainless steel, you'll discover that it gets pretty sticky. Anything else is up in the air. That's it, friends. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.